All right, and Master fans, we are here with a little more long-form video on the Pentium Pro 180 customization project. So, to quickly recap everything we've changed from this original configuration. Pentium Pro 180, it came with two of these originally. When I picked it up, it is EDO memory and had 8 megabytes. I have upgraded it to the max with brand new EDO. I got off eBay from a pretty cool company that produces some of these old mem sticks. So if you need them, head out online to eBay, look for it. I'm sure you'll find it. So it's 256 megabytes of RAM. I've added a Sound Blaster Live. Now this does have the optional crystal audio on board. For the VS440FX motherboard. Good audio, honestly. I really haven't even plugged speakers in to test that yet. Honestly, I just had the CD cord is just too short. So I couldn't reach the board plug, so I threw a Sound Blaster in because this is probably fairly comparable to what it has. I may end up pulling this out later and just finding a longer CD audio adapter, but for now, this will be adequate. Again, I'm not even plugging speakers into it, so it is what it is. The fans here I've added in. I had to special order them because they're an oddball size, 80 millimeter. Put one on the case. I had to drill out the holes to make it a little bigger to get the screws to fit. And then I've got some drywall screw spacers holding up the processor fan there. The cable management isn't perfect, but it's kind of tough because all these old ribbon cables, they're just kind of bulky. I mean, it just is what it is. Back in the day, this is just what we did, is we made rat's nests. Aside from that, I did not have another fan to fit. This is another 80 millimeter hole. I'd love to throw a fan in here. It's really not necessary at this point, but I want to in the future. I had to move the... Unfortunately, I had to move the floppy disk controller out of this awesome mounting to get the CD drive in. I wasn't going to add a CD, but if you've seen the shorts on this, in the hard drive bay, which this is this cool little removable hard drive bay, I have an SD to IDE converter, and I thought I was being clever and pulled the SD card to load some stuff onto it like a typical SD card would. But that actually knocked it out of configuration, and then it wouldn't read as a hard drive. So I actually do have to completely reinstall Windows 98 on this machine yet again, which hopefully will not take 36 hours like it did last time, because I had to unpack everything from the cab files manually. That was a little irritating. But aside from that, pretty smooth sailing. The biggest thing I've done, which I was a little leery on, but I've changed the... configuration here in the jumpers to the undocumented 233 megahertz overclock for this board. Now this, you can find the documentation online, but essentially you move the two jumpers, which were originally set on 9 and 11 to 11 and 13, and the ones that were set to 17 and 19 to 19 and 21, and that will overclock your machine. So this is a Pentium Pro 180, so this should run at 233 megahertz with a 66 megahertz bus speed. So at this point, everything's plugged in, and I'm ready to boot it. Again, there's nothing on the hard drive right now, but I do have this fabulously unlabeled floppy disk with a Windows 95, or maybe this is the 98 boot disk I made. I pulled this out of a recycler, just box actually, of old floppies, so we'll throw that in there so we have something to boot to. But I'm pretty excited. I'm going to go ahead and get this set up so you guys can see all of the boot process on the monitor and how that's going to go. All right, y'all, we're going to hit the power button and watch it boot. Now, one thing to remember on this machine in particular is it does not have any way to check the processor temperature. So we're going in blind with the overclock. Hopefully heat is not an issue. This is the only Pentium Pro I have, so I would be really sad if anything got messed up with it. But the good news is this isn't designed to have a fan, so I think we'll be okay. You can see the mem check on this here is taking its dear sweet time. 256 megs is a lot for back in the day. I'm really impressed that this motherboard even has that capacity. All right, detected the floppy right away. Got a good boot. Windows 98. Let's go ahead and start it with CD support. All right, it's loading up the RAM drive. All right, we'll have to probably do a partition with F-disk. All right, let's go ahead and get this started with an install. Okay, so just a quick check in here to the BIOS. So we are clocked at 233 megahertz on the Pentium Pro, which is pretty great. However, one issue I am running into is the hard drive, which I thought I had remedied by clearing out, unfortunately seems to have become unreadable. So we're going to have to play around with that and see if we can get that SD card in there to read again. All right, so good news, we're reading our hard disk again, so we should finally be able to format this once we get into Windows 98 and get the setup going. Let's see if we can get this rolling. All right, and we are all into Windows 98. Did not have to manually unpack cabs this time or anything, so we have a much more successful installation here. And let's just go ahead and pop into our good old-fashioned control panel and take a look at our system specs here. So we'll head on down to our system. And we've got the 256 megs of RAM. Now note it doesn't say the processor speed. Windows 98 kind of famous for doing fun stuff like that, but we are at 233 megahertz, 66 bus. This install went way faster. Last time it took almost, I want to say 45 minutes altogether, and this was much closer to about a half an hour. So significant gains with the overclock. Can't wait to throw some games on this thing and play around with it, see what we can do. Stay tuned, and we've got more of the Pentium 180 system coming up, including finishing off the case, getting it all put back together, cleaned up a bit, and then we'll start tricking it out and doing some fun things with it.